edition of the podcast. My name is Ramon, and this is Dad's podcast project. And now there's definitely a lot to unwrap in today's episode. It's been a minute since I've had time to sit down and actually record an episode. So I feel like I have definitely a lot that I want to say, but I'm not promising anything in terms of lengths of the episode. We'll just leave it as it is. As you can see in the title, we're going to be talking about three things: the coronavirus, potty words, and the movie Onward. Now, this is not going to be a spoilery review. This is merely just going to talk about my thoughts about the film. In terms of potty words, there is going to be no profanity in this episode. There is really no profanity in any of my episodes unless you see the little E for explicit next to the icon, and that's usually when I have a guest, typically someone who uses more colorful speech. I like to warn you guys before you're getting into that episode. So don't worry, there's no profanity henceforth in this episode. And I'd like to start with the coronavirus. I'm not going to try to educate anybody on anything with regards to what it is, where it originated from, or anything like that. I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody or anything that's going on, but I do want to sort of document this moment that's happening in our lives that our children may not be aware of when they grow up, when they're teenagers. They might not remember the fact that there was this widespread worldwide event that was occurring March 2020. And it is a worldwide event. Now, I guess I'm going to take it a few steps back because I did say I wasn't going to say where it originated from. However, for context purposes, it originated in China, in Wuhan, I believe a province of China. Excuse me. And just so if my kids are listening back to this, they'll have a little bit of understanding of how much and how far it's traveled since. I mean, the date of recording this, March 10th, 2020. And right now, it's actually touched the United States of America. We were really just looking at this as an altered version of the SARS disease, which I don't even remember SARS growing up. I think that it was a joke that I remembered seeing on a South Park episode, referring to Chinese people having SARS. But even then, I had no idea what it was, or the symptoms or the effects or even the death toll that came with it. I'm still not unsure as to the total number. However, in comparison to a lot of other things that people lose their lives to every day, it's still relatively low on the totem pole. But it was an event nonetheless back in the day, or back in my day, I guess, when I was a kid. But the coronavirus is something that it just seems to have hit hard and fast. And I don't think that people really anticipated that it would. Currently, at least here in the United States, I'm not sure wherever the rest of you are who are currently listening to this episode are located. It seems as if the news is kind of downplaying it. It seems as if whether you're looking at a politician, the president, anybody, even coworkers, for example, a lot of them are just sort of looking at it and just giving you the sound bites of, well, the flu kills more people, or it's only one person, or it's only one case, say in Seattle, which then became 6 deaths and even more cases of people. This thing happened, I want to say like 2 weeks ago was when we first heard about it. And when you think about it in time, like in the perspective of time, 2 weeks ago, we were just talking about it in this one small province or maybe it was a small city, or Wuhan could even be a major city. Again, I'm not here to educate you. If you would like to further your education on this, I would encourage you to go out and seek that knowledge. But you're probably not going to get the most accurate information from me. And I'm just being transparent here. Like, don't take my word at face value. Please do your own research. Get out there and Google it and do whatever you're going to do. But with that being said, it seems like it's something that started there, and we sort of saw it on the news. We saw it on social media. It's like, oh man, is this like another SARS thing? Like, what's going on with this? All of a sudden, it's like, okay, now it's on a cruise ship, and there's actually some Americans, or it was on a cruise ship and there were some Americans on it, and they weren't letting anybody off of it because the incubation period is supposedly 14 days that you can contract this disease, have it in your system, not show any symptoms for 14 days, or like you can be host to it and infect other people within that time, and no one would be none the wiser. No one would look at you like, oh, you're sick, or you're coughing, or you have the flu-like symptoms. They would just get it. And at least from what I've heard recently is it can just be breathing the same air. A person doesn't even have to cough or anything like that. They can just merely be in the same room with you. And if you so happen to breathe in one of these coronavirus little virus spores, cells, whatever you want to call them, or whatever the more accurate term is called, you would then contract it and be host to it yourself. So the fact that they, at least in China, I was under the impression that they shut that place down. Like no one was traveling, no one was getting in or out. You were just there. And that they were quarantining individuals who were flying in from China. And like I thought, like, okay, we're going to nip this in the bud real quick, and it's just going to be no big deal. But here we are 2 weeks later. There's a cruise ship off the coast of San Francisco or Oakland, and there's people with the coronavirus on it. It's just cruising right off the coast, like here, right here at our doorstep. There's people who have lost their lives in Seattle. Now, granted, to provide even further context, they were older individuals with sort of, I want to say, maybe like health complications with their age, some breathing problems. There's a lot of factors that, information that's come out about like who can really severely be affected. Clearly, it's going to be the old and it's going to be the young. And why it's something that concerns my wife and I as parents is because our children are young. Their immune systems are still developing. And as far as I know, there is no coronavirus vaccine. Now, I've already talked about anti-vaxxers. I've already given my stance on where I am with vaccination. And when it comes to something like the coronavirus, you better believe I'm going to be in line and we're going to get that vaccination if and when it comes out. No questions. I don't want us to have to roll the dice on this. Even if it is like an 8 or upwards of 10% chance of fatality, I'm not taking that gamble, that risk, because people are dying. And granted, the numbers are small. And I just had a conversation about this, like at work. And, sometimes conversations, everybody's at different ends, but that's one of the things that I enjoy about sort of the blue collar industry is that you can have those opposing opinions and still function as coworkers. It doesn't draw lines in the sand between anybody. So one of my coworkers, who I'll refer to as the Paul Flores sympathizer, if I know he's listening to this too, and for any of you who have heard the Kristen Smart podcast, Your Own Backyard by Chris Lambert, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. No one in their right mind, I'm sure, I'm willing to put money on that, sympathizes with that Paul Flores individual. But my coworker, I think it's because he wants to play devil's advocate or whatever it is. He was using terms like the alleged killer, this, that, or whatever. So that's why I refer to him as the Paul Flores sympathizer. And again, he knows exactly who he is. And so he and I were having a conversation at lunch, and he was really downplaying it, like, it's whatever, I'd rather get it, give me that 14 days off, give me that 14-day vacation, this, that, whatever. And, it's one thing, like, if we were to get it, like myself or my wife, sure, we'd have to fight the good fight and do the best we could to ensure that we could hopefully get over it and get past it. But one of the things that isn't really thought about is our kids. Now, I may fight the good fight to get over it, but my kids for sure would be exposed to it. My coworkers' kids would be exposed to it. All of us at work would be exposed to it, and all of our children would eventually be exposed to it. It's a very scary thought to think about something like this and how fast it can spread. But also on that same note, I don't want to like raise reason for panic either, because I'm not panicking. My wife, I can't really speak for her. She might be, who knows? But I myself, I'm not panicking, but I'm also not going about this and not semi-preparing. One of the things that we kind of got on was how people are sort of buying out groceries in the store. You can't even find Purell. You can't even find hand sanitizer. You can't find soap. Next thing is like toilet papers flying off the shelves. They're selling, hand sanitizer on the black market. All this stuff that comes with, people in a little bit of a panic. They want to prepare. They think they're preparing for the worst. And a buddy of mine, he even posted on his Instagram, or it might have been his Facebook, that he went to the Asian market. And that if you've ever been to an Asian market, like when you go to Vons or when you go to Rite Aid, or not Rite Aid, but when you go to Ralph's isn't even around anymore. So we'll just say Vons. I don't know what other grocery stores are out there other than Trader Joe's, but even that one is just so small. I don't really consider it to be a grocery store. But when you go to Vons and you go down, there's one aisle, there's the Asian aisle, and you want to buy rice. It's there's like maybe 3 or 4 brands of rice, and they're very small bags that you can get. Another step up from that would be Costco. When you go to Costco, of course, there's like 2 full pallets just stacked full of rice. You get Botan, you get Jasmine, and then another like segment or pallet with like instant rice kind of thing. But when you go to an Asian market, there's one entire aisle that is dedicated, floor to the top of the shelf, rice, all different kinds of rice. And the image that he posted on his social media, the rice was gone, all of it. And it's like, hey, whoa, that's intense. Because rice in an Asian household, you're eating rice every single day. There's always a pot of rice ready on deck. In my house, when I was growing up, there was always a pot of rice every day. And the rice never went bad. We always just ate it. Or if it was going to go bad, my dad would then make fried rice with it and we would finish it. So, we always had rice. It was a staple in this house. Being half Filipino, it's just it was just part of growing up. And so the fact that there are people out there buying out rice, buying out hand sanitizers, buying out toilet paper, buying out water for that matter. I think even at Costco, they had a thing where it was like you can only buy 2 cases of water per trip because they didn't want people hoarding it. And I think when my son and I, we went to Costco, they even wiped down the handles on the cart. Like as soon as we walked in, a guy reached over, sort of moved my arms out of the way and wiped down the cart. I wasn't expecting that. I respect it. I wasn't going to be opposed to that, but I didn't really think we're on this level now. And now politically and on some social media sites and some news organizations, they're going to talk about it being just like an over-exaggerated thing that's occurring. And maybe it is. Now, the disease prevention folks, they seem to think otherwise. They seem to think that this has pandemic level qualities or traits, and that this will affect a larger group than those who are conveying the information might want you or lead you to believe. It might lead you to believe that this is what's in the news cycle this week. Next week, it'll be something else. Don't even worry about it. And now I don't have a problem with people buying out stuff in the store. That's fine. I have a problem with people who have a problem with people buying out stuff in the store. It's like, why can't someone just be prepared? Why is it a problem for someone to be cautious, to side on the air of caution? I would be lying if I said I didn't have 2 large cases of water sitting right behind me in my podcast recording area. I do have 2 large cases of water sitting behind me as I'm recording this. It's just the way it is. And now we didn't rush out to the store to get this. We went to the store to buy our groceries on the regular grocery shopping day, and we just thought to ourselves, you know what? We might as well just pick up a case of water while we're here. And the next time we went to the store again, you know what? We might as well just pick up another case of water. And that's not to say that we're panicking, but it's just saying that just in case, we've got some water, and that's it. I was glad that we went to get toilet paper when I needed to go, because if they had sold out, like, not for any panicking reasons whatsoever, other than the fact that we were like legitimately out of toilet paper and we needed it. So I don't know. Some of these things, it's just kind of funny to me. I think that people should be prepared. When they hear news like this, it's like, go with your gut. And if your gut tells you to go ahead and just pick up a case of water, just pick it up. Don't worry about it. And if someone picks up a case of water, don't be worried about it. It's none of your business. It's what they're doing. If they want to be prepared, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't understand sort of the frame of mind of someone who's like, it to me, it's the equivalent of, why would you buy an umbrella? It's not raining today, but it might. It might tomorrow too. Now, granted, we can make a better judgment call with the weather, at least a more accurate call with the weather, because of things that we have put in place. We're not just going off old man Marty, and if he's got like a little tingle in his knee that storms are coming. So we don't have to base our weather predictions off of that anymore. But we can make a little bit more educated decisions. And that's kind of what's going on now. That's what's going on as my kids are just going about growing up and playing and going through the growing pains and getting the little bumps and bruises on their knees as they're playing. This is happening in the world. This is what's happening around us. And this is something that is on the minds of both my wife and I as we sit and we're in our thoughts, or we're talking with one another. The conversation comes up sometimes, or the topic, I should say, comes up. And we would rather, like I said earlier, side on the air of caution. We would rather be prepared. But we're definitely not, or I am definitely not panicking. So moving on, though, to potty words. I think that, and again, like I said earlier on the podcast, there's not going to be any profanity in this, but I went to pick up my son from school after work, and I get there, and his teacher's like, she's eyeing me like, I need you to come here. I need to talk to you real quick. And I try to make it a point to talk to her every single time I go. Sometimes it's like it lands on when she's taking her break or a late lunch. I'm not exactly sure what their schedules are there, but I make my way over, and it's like, oh, okay, like what's going on? And she's like, oh, well, your son, he was really good today. He's playing really well. You can see he's doing well. She's like kind of soften the conversation, I'm guessing. And then she goes right into it saying, but he is using potty words, and we need to get on top of that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, what kind of potty words are we talking about here? And she sort of put my thoughts to rest and said, well, he's saying Miss, we'll just say like Miss so-and-so. And Miss so-and-so is going to her office to go pee-pee. She's going to go pee-pee in her office. Just stuff like that. Like he's using legit potty words like pee-pee and poo. And here I'm like stressing like, oh man, is he dropping F-bombs? Is he doing all this other stuff? Like what kind of language is our son using here at school? Because that's one of the things, like, I don't use profanity in our house. I have on occasion, like out in the real world. I can't lie about that. I used to quite a bit when I was younger, but it was something that I sort of outgrew. And I think that I'm not sure what the turning point was in my life when I just sort of stopped using profanity, but it got really bad. And I think I recognized it as I was doing it, that I was using words like F-bombs and saying the S word as if it were in place of saying like. So when you're having a conversation with somebody and they use the word like a lot, it's sort of like a bridging. I'm not exactly sure the right term for it, but it's like a bridging term. So people will use terms like, and they'll say those words and they'll drag them out. And it's sort of just like, it bridges the gap in between sentences so that there's no space in between. And I found myself using like the F word, the S word, the B word, the list goes on. You get the idea. I was using all of that in my vernacular as like a middle school student, I want to say, at that young. And it wasn't until maybe my sophomore and my junior year in high school. And I must have had I think it was when I was hanging out with my friends. They always used profanity as well. And I wanted to sort of change it up. So I try to find weird words like a thesaurus. You would there's two kinds of words, or there's one word that has different words that mean the same thing. And I would try to find those words and put them in place. I mean, an example is like, rather than, I'm getting like, the rain is getting my car wet, I can just say, my car's getting moist from the rain. Now, it sounds kind of odd. No one says the car is getting moist from the rain. And I would get a reaction from the guys I was hanging out with. And I kind of enjoyed that. Like the sense that here I am using a completely different word, sort of means the same thing in kind of a different context. It might sound awkward, but I don't know, it helped to expand my vocabulary. And I just went with that. And there were other things throughout my life, work-wise, my career, that sort of helped to refine that. I learned that I didn't want to be the type of person that has a job interview voice and then a me voice. I wanted my voice, my vernacular, the way that I speak, to be the same as if I were to talk to you in a job interview and as if I were to talk to you in just regular conversation. I wanted there to be no gray area in between that. I am the same person either way. So the way that I'm speaking on this podcast, if we were to have a conversation in public, this is the way that I would speak. I wouldn't be dropping F-bombs. I wouldn't be using this, that, or whatever. I mean, this is the way that I talk. So I was sort of taken off balance with hearing this, thinking, where is he coming up with this stuff? Where is he hearing this? And my mind just races to, it must be some other kid. And now I'm not going to be that parent that's like roasting other parents and saying, raising kids like this. But I guess I was that stereotypical parent thinking, my son? Impossible. There's no possible way it could be my son. When in fact it was. I mean, he was just coming up with it on his own. And I had a talk with him as we were driving home from school. I asked him how his day was. I asked him if there was anything he wanted to tell me. I totally taken a page out of my dad's book with that one. But I asked him if there's anything he wanted to tell me. And it was nothing. He had nothing he wanted to tell me. So then I broke it down and said, well, I've been using potty words in school because your teacher has told me that you have. And I want you to tell me the truth. And he owned up to it. He said, yes. I told him, well, what do you think the punishment should be for a boy who uses potty words at school towards other people? And he really didn't know. So I told him, well, do you think that, because I didn't want to give him time out, or I didn't want to put him on a serious punishment. It had to be equal. It had to be like in likeness to what it is he had done. And so I told him, well, do you think that you deserve a snack today? And now snack is just pretty much, we just refer to snacks as items that are outside of the normal lunch, dinner, breakfast sort of menu. So muffins, chips, crackers, cookies, all that stuff. Rather than saying sweets, we just call them all snacks. And he said, no. I told him, all right then. When we get home, there is no snacks, or there are no snacks today. And he was bummed about it. And he kind of forgot about it too throughout the course of the evening. He thought when we got back home, oh, hey, Grandma, can I get a snack? And I was like, no, no, no. You remember, you use potty words at school. No snacks. And he was like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe this. And really throwing a fit. My wife gets home. Hey, Mom, can I get a snack? And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. First off, let's tell your mom how your day at school was. Let's bring her up to speed on what transpired while she was at work today. And she looks to me and it's like, yeah, he used, I had to tell her, he was like, yeah, he used some potty words at school today. And she's like, what did he say? I was like, well, he said pee-pee and poo. And she kind of covers the side of her mouth and mouths to me. That's all. Like she thought it was going to be something way more serious, but still we have to sort of set the framework going forward. That is unacceptable for him to say at this age now. And we want to get a grip on it. We don't want, I really don't want my kids to use profanity around me. I'm not saying that they never will, but I want them to have the respect around me that is not the way that I talk, and that is not the way that I want us to speak in our home. If they're out with their friends and they want to let loose or whatever, that's fine. There have been times where I have done the same, and that's their choice. But in this home, I guess I want to sort of maintain that level of, would it be civility? I'm not sure what you would call it, but I would like us to have conversations using a much broader vocabulary than reducing it down to sort of those generalized terms that really have over the years just negative tones and negative intent behind them. But it's sort of been stripped away in some cases to just be used as an everyday thing. And I don't want that to be the case, at least here around me in our home. Come on, we can try to do better and use other words. I'm this probably way ahead of myself because they still have a ways to go, but it seems like every generation, like kids start earlier and earlier doing these things. And if I was doing it in middle school, kids today must be doing it in elementary school. And our children are probably going to be doing it in pre-K. So for all I know, we may have to cross this road a lot sooner rather than later. With that being said, onward to the movie Onward. This was an amazing film. Hands down, 10 out of 10. If you've not seen it, you're thinking about seeing it, just go see it. Don't think about it anymore. Just go. If you're sort of on the fence on what you should watch, maybe this weekend you want to go to the movies, see this one. See Onward. This is not a sponsored like ad spot. Like I truly enjoyed this film. It was a great movie. Like I had just talked about the movie Sonic and how there was nothing in it. Like kind of, there were no like little either hidden things in the script or in the dialogue or anywhere that kind of touched back to me as a parent and held my attention outside of just sort of the interstellar travel via the ring system. But this movie, Onward, the entire thing, there was like one slow period where there was like conversation or dialogue where my son was, again, he was like, all right, I'm ready to go. And we were barely like 10 minutes into the movie. And we told him, oh, well, just chill. You know, are you hungry? Do you want a snack? And here we were referring to the pizza that they sell in the concession, which is, don't even get me started on concession prices. That's just wild how much concession food costs. But that paired with the tickets, again, I won't get into it. I'm just kind of getting into it, but the movie itself was just, after that, after he got his snack and got a little bit of water, he watched the rest of it. He wasn't jumping out of his seat. It held his attention beginning to end, minus that little stint after the first 10 minutes. But the characters, the storyline, the animation, the music, just the overall synergy between the characters and everything. It just totally resonated. A huge fan of the film. Definitely go see it if you haven't seen it yet. I give it a solid 10 out of 10. I've already told my wife, like, as soon as we were driving home from the theater, like, yeah, we're going to buy this one. When it comes out, she's like, well, it might come out on Disney Plus, and some movies you just got to own. I'm up for paying for it. Let's just get it. And it was a really great time. We had a great time at the theater. We went to a 5:00 show, and we thought it was going to be sold out. We even looked at the seats that were available, and it was like, dude, it's like we can pick any seat we want. Nobody coming to this one right now. And it was just, yeah, it was really great. I had a really great time. I enjoyed taking my son to the movies. I'm looking forward to taking my daughter. I want to take her to see Mulan, but she's not even one yet. So, and I think the movie theater would probably be way too loud for her little ears right now. That, and it is a live action movie. She is more like chill in that regard. I think that if I were to, I'm definitely going to take her. I'm excited to get back to making movies and going to the movies, a regular part of my life again. It's been a very long time, and these kid movies are getting really good. Onward was definitely a good one. Sonic was good. Definitely not one that I'm going to go out and buy, but all the other Disney Pixar movies that are out, that are even the ones that are on Disney Plus, we're huge fans of. There's a movie coming out, Minions, the Rise of Gru, and my wife is like a huge Minions, or what is it, Despicable Me fan, but she is not even remotely interested in seeing that movie. So I don't even think we're going to go to see that. We'll see. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to the podcast. If you made it this far, again, thank you. Thank you to people who have liked and subscribed. Subscriber count has definitely been on the rise on YouTube. If you've taken the time to watch this on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Subscribe, leave a thumbs up if you liked it. If you're listening on iTunes, take the time, leave a 5-star review, leave a written review. Who knows? I don't know. And if you're finding me through my website, I mean, thank you. That's pretty cool. I really just host these episodes on the website, and I haven't really done anything with the website, like photography wise. That's sort of been on the back burner, the back burner. So either way, thank you guys. And until next time, see ya.